All right, let's get right into this because there's a fascinating diplomatic puzzle unfolding in Islamabad right now. You've got the US and Iran, two rivals who are refusing to even be in the same room, and a third country, Pakistan, that's trying to mediate a standoff that has really global implications. So, get this. On the exact same day, we got these two official but completely contradictory statements. The White House says Iran reached out and requested direct, in-person talks. At the same time, Iran's foreign ministry says, flat out, nope, no meeting is planned. I mean, they can't both be true, right? Or can they? And that brings us to the real heart of this whole mystery. What is actually going on behind the scenes in Islamabad? How can you have two totally opposing official statements while both delegations are physically heading to the very same city for talks? Well, the key to unlocking this whole puzzle, it isn't in Washington and it's not in Tehran, it's in Islamabad. Pakistan has somehow managed to put itself in this incredibly rare, almost unique position of being the one country that both the United States and Iran are willing to trust as an honest broker.
And listen, don't think for a second that Pakistan is just a passive host, just providing some hotel rooms. They have invested a massive amount of diplomatic capital to make this happen. We're talking the prime minister on a 45-minute call, shuttle diplomacy across the region, the army chief himself flying to Tehran. They've even deployed 10,000 security personnel. They are all in on this.
And this quote from Iran's ambassador, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? We do talks in Pakistan and nowhere else because we trust Pakistan. That trust isn't an accident. It's something that's been built up over decades of really consistent diplomacy. And that's really the crucial point here. Having that trust from both sides at the same time is just so rare in international politics. It's what makes Pakistan's role absolutely essential, but it also puts them in an unbelievably difficult spot, because now they're the ones who have to manage this public contradiction with both delegations on their soil.
So let's get into the core of the conflict itself, because it's not just about getting people to talk, it's about the fundamental, almost unsolvable issues that are keeping them apart in the first place.
So how do you manage that public contradiction we saw earlier? Well, Pakistan is using a classic diplomatic tool called proximity talks. It's basically a way to bridge the gap without forcing either side to publicly back down from their "we're not meeting" stance. And what's so clever about this technique is that it allows both countries to stick to their story back home. Iran can say, "We never met the Americans," which is true. And the US can say, "We got our message to them," which is also true. It's Pakistan's diplomats who are literally doing the legwork, walking back and forth down the hallway. But even with all this creative diplomacy, you can't escape the core issues. I mean, look at this. The first round of these talks went on for a grueling 21 hours straight. And at the end of it, both sides said they were inches away from a deal. But that last inch might as well have been a mile because neither one was willing to cross it. And here's why. The issues on the table, they're not things you can just split down the middle. These are binary questions. It's yes or no. You either control the Strait of Hormuz or you don't. Your enriched uranium is either inside the country or it's outside. You can't compromise on these kinds of all-or-nothing sovereignty issues. Okay, so this is where Pakistan's grand strategy comes into play. And frankly, it's a remarkably sophisticated gamble. They know they can't solve these binary problems head-on, so they're trying to change the entire game. So instead of just being a messenger, Pakistan is trying to build what you could call diplomatic scaffolding. They're bringing in other regional powers, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, to basically endorse a potential deal. That way, if the US or Iran makes a concession, it doesn't look like they cave to their enemy. It looks like they accepted a reasonable solution backed by the whole region. It's all about giving them political cover. But, and this is a huge but, there are some structural problems here that even the best diplomacy in the world just can't fix. Pakistan can't change the internal power dynamics in Tehran, where it's often the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, that has the final say, not the diplomats. And on the flip side, the US can't really offer the one thing the IRGC wants most, which is a rock-solid guarantee of regime security. And this isn't just theory, okay? We've seen this happen before. The last negotiator who got inches away from a deal was reportedly pushed aside by the IRGC. So the crucial point here is that the Iranian officials who are sitting at the table in Islamabad today might not actually have the authority to say yes to a final deal, no matter how good it is. So instead of getting lost in all the contradictory headlines and official statements, Let me give you 3 specific, concrete things to watch for. These clues will tell you what's really going on with these talks, way more than any press conference will. So here's your guide. We're going to look at 3 things: the format of the talks themselves, the specific language the negotiators are using, and, maybe most importantly, the tone coming from the Pakistani mediators. Okay, first, just watch the format. It's simple. As long as these talks stay indirect, with Pakistan running messages between separate rooms, you know that fundamental gap is still there. But the moment you see both delegations in the same room, even if it's just for a photo op, that tells you a massive hurdle has been cleared behind the scenes. Second, you have to listen very, very closely to the diplomatic language. Right now, the Iranian negotiator frames all this as an ongoing mediation with Pakistan. If, after a round of talks, you hear him shift to saying Iran is open to dialogue, that might sound like a tiny change, but in the world of diplomacy, that's an earthquake. It's a huge signal. And third, and honestly, this is probably the biggest tell of all, watch Pakistan's tone. Up until now, they have been relentlessly positive, calling every single meeting constructive. The day you hear their foreign minister stop using that word and start talking about structural gaps, that's the day you know this whole process has hit a wall that even they can't get over. Which leaves us with this final, massive question that Pakistan is trying to answer in real time, right now. What do you do when you're the only country both sides trust, but one side is asking for something the other has already sworn is impossible? The answer they find could shape the future of the entire region.